In this brief 5-minute video, I'm going to tell you how Australia's Shadow Health Minister, Mark Butler, and the Australian Labor Party are involved in a criminal cover-up over our nation's deadliest medical scandal, contaminated blood. Mark Butler, the Shadow Health Minister in Labor, are also covering up the fact that children with the bleeding disorder Haemophilia were knowingly injected with contaminated blood products contaminated with HIV and hepatitis that claimed those children's lives. One of them being the reason why I started this group, Infected Blood Australia, in the first place. So, my name's Charles Mackenzie. Thank you for joining me. This will only take 5 minutes. I promise you, you're going to hear some serious crimes. And if you care about child protection like I do and this group does, stay tuned. If you're a parent of children, you need to listen because we need to do something about this man, Mark Butler. Recently, our group had a mass email day where we wrote to Mark Butler telling him about how contaminated blood victims, people who've received blood transfusions before the years 2000, or people who'd received blood products, and how those blood transfusions or blood products are being contaminated, leaving thousands of Australians with things like hepatitis C. Or how about, people with bleeding disorders like with haemophilia, who were persuaded to take a treatment that many of them didn't even need to survive, and that treatment transferred viruses, destroying their lives and destroying the prospects of their family. So we wrote to Australia's Shadow Health Minister asking that he do something. And this is the reply. And they sent the same reply to everybody in the group, and I'm going to read it to you. Okay. Thank you for your correspondence to the Honourable Mark Butler. Mark has asked that I respond on his behalf. While we cannot possibly feel the pain of victims, Labor and Mark understand the very real and urgent frustration of victims and their supporters. I imagine this frustration is only made worse by the fact our political system does not move quickly at the best of times, and as the opposition, Labor cannot currently do anything to address this historic injustice. I note that our office has recently extended an offer to arrange for the Shadow Minister's Chief of Staff, Tom Skladzian, to meet with representatives of your group to work to better understand what has happened and how we can achieve some semblance of justice. So in other words, Australia's Shadow Health Minister has lost his voice. He can't do as every other Shadow Health Minister has done and speak up in Parliament. So he won't speak up in Parliament about children being provided with knowingly with contaminated blood. We can prove it. He knows it. The Labor Party know it, but he doesn't want to speak up. Okay, all right. Okay. Well, some years ago, a journalist that our group is very fond of, who's also written about contaminated blood, the wonderful investigative journalist Joan McGrath, wrote about child sex abuse. She investigated it and exposed how institutions and churches had not done enough about all of these cases, horrible cases of child sex abuse. Australia had a Royal Commission, and Australians, and we were all horrified, and I think we all committed after that process to say child protection counts. Well, that's why I'm going to hold Mark Butler as President of Infected Blood Australia. I'm going to hold Mark Butler to account and his Labor Party. They know that patients were knowingly harmed. They know that there are people today who are pleading for help. There are no services. We have people with cancer. There's people who've had hepatitis from blood, thousands of them. There's cancer right throughout our group. There's no services, there's no counselling, they've lost their homes, they've lost their careers, millions of dollars in families have just vanished. This is abject poverty that we have now. Thousands of people in Australia, and there's no help. This was a global scandal, contaminated blood. There is a massive inquiry in the UK, and we're asking those activists, if you're watching now, please would you write to our Shadow Health Minister and let him know that child protection counts. Okay, please. Let him know that this was done knowingly. He knows that. But let him know that he can't be our health minister in Australia, and let him know he's letting down our country, because Mark Butler and the Australian Labor Party have betrayed Australia. If you care, if you're a parent, you care about child protection or children. These children, this kid I went to school with, he had his whole life ripped out. The pages of his life were just ripped out and thrown away so that some bastards could make money injecting him with a contaminated blood product. Mark Butler, you'll never be health minister with a disgraceful attitude like yours. Thank you, and please help us. Please help Infected Blood Australia. We need your help. Thank you. Thank you.